the India Today Education Summit. I know all of you have been waiting rather patiently for our first opening session to kick off. And of course, the highlight of our two-day summit is the presence of the Honorable Chief Minister, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy. He's now reached the venue, so any moment now he will be making his way up onto the stage. So I request everyone to remain seated as you are right now, because he'll be joining us very, very soon. And of course, the security protocol being followed outside. Any moment now, we'll be kicking off the proceedings. Thank you. Just a quick announcement that the Chief Minister, Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu, is on his way currently to the hall. So we will be beginning at any moment now. Also, a quick reminder that once the session is over, we will be taking a quick 20-minute tea break, but I request all of you not to crowd around due to security reasons. We will have to restrict your entry in the first few minutes, and then you will be let out. But I request all of you to not try and gather around the Chief Minister's chair or follow his security as they take him out and back into the lounge. So you'll have to remain seated for a brief few moments, and then, of course, we'll open up the doors for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I request all of you to please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy, as he makes his way in as well. He's just making his way at this point through the corridors. So we would like to ensure that he feels the warmth and the welcome from all of you as he makes his way into this hall. Of course, it's going to be a conversation that will last about 45 minutes where the Chief Minister will be talking about all of the issues that we spoke on day one of the Education Summit as well. The kind of steps that he's taken to transform education in Andhra Pradesh, the personal interest and passion that's driven him to kind of make the changes that we've seen here in the state of Andhra Pradesh. So it's a conversation to look forward to because you're going to be hearing from the Chief Minister himself on how really he ensured this transformation in Andhra Pradesh. It's come to be known as the Andhra model of education, and I'm sure that everyone here and outside will be taking notes as we broadcast the session live at the India Today Education Summit. You can, of course, catch highlights also on our website. We'll be putting out the entire interview on our YouTube handles also soon after we air this live. So it's a pleasure to have you all with us, and the Chief Minister will be making his way through any moment now. Andraki Namaskaram. Please give a warm round of applause and welcome Honorable Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu, as he graces us here on stage at the India Today Education Summit. I request everyone to please be seated as we get set for the opening session of Day 2 of the Education Summit. Jagan Garu, before I call you on stage, just a word on what we witnessed firsthand and discussed here as a part of the Education Summit. We had the privilege of visiting one of your schools here in Tirupati to see the kind of development that has happened in the education sector. And the fact that it's here in Tirupati is testament to the fact that your development, your schemes have really seeped into every layer of Andhra Pradesh, to every city, to every single town. And I think a lot of us, me and my colleagues, when we were at these schools, discussed very often saying, we wish we studied in one of these schools because of the kind of steps that were taken, the fact that they were IFPs, the fact that every student had a tablet, and this is something we spoke in great detail about as well. You know, all of this ensures is a model that Andhra Pradesh follows, is perhaps something every state can learn from. You even have an AI bot that can give some serious competition to our AI anchor, Sana. So that was wonderful to see, the fact that there's a tutor available for every student, and that ensures that global opportunities are available for government school students in Andhra Pradesh, which is amazing. And we hear, sir, from officials who've been speaking to us since day one, that all of this is a result of your personal interest in the education sector, as a result of your passion in this sector. So a huge round of applause, please, for the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister. Can I request Rajdeep Sardesai to please come up on the stage and welcome the Honorable Chief Minister.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the India Today Education Summit here in the historic spiritual city of Tirupati. And one can't think of a better place in which to talk about just what education can do to lift the lives of millions of Indians. And that's exactly what Andhra Pradesh is attempting to do. I had first-hand sense of this when a month ago we put out a story of a group of young meritorious boys and girls from low-income groups, underprivileged families who were traveling through the United States to get a sense of what was happening in that country, in the United Nations, even at the White House. And when I saw their images, it was clear that Andhra Pradesh was trying to do something different in bridging the big education divide and creating equal opportunities. And for that alone, I think the Chief Minister who's with us, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy, deserves a big hand for attempting that in the times in which we live. Thank you very much, Jaganji, for joining us. You've been very quiet in the last 5 years since you took over. Perhaps this is the first time you're coming on television in these 5 years. Is it that you've learned that the only way to be in politics is to let your work do the talking? Is that how you have seen yourself? Why have you been so silent in the national media? It almost seems as if you made Andhra Pradesh the space where you want to do all your work and prove yourself.
As you, in fact, I'm glad that a team of India Today journalists have visited our schools, have seen what's happening there. And that I'm really glad about that, because no matter what I speak, it is only when you see what has happened, only then you get a sense of what had been done. So I'm happy about that.
Because the reason I ask is, one of the charges made against Indian politicians in general and Indian governments in general is we don't invest enough in education. In fact, education and health, which really are critical to building a better society. So is this a shift that you're trying to make in the way you see governance when you say that you want to put Andhra Pradesh on the map when it comes to education by bringing in new technologies, by trying to bridge the divide between rural and urban students, between government schools and private schools? Is this something close to your heart, or do you believe every politician now needs to look at education as their number one priority sector?
In fact, Rajdeep, the only way we can, at some stage, think about removing poverty or eradicating poverty, the only way, I strongly believe, is by quality education. A right to education is no longer the buzzword. A right to quality education should become the buzzword. What is the point in bringing up an education system where the poor get to study something else, where the rich study something else, where the poor get to study only Telugu medium, where the government schools only teach Telugu medium, whereas the aspiration and whereas the rich who can afford get to be educated in English medium. So if that were to be the divide, then that division between the rich and the poor would never be wiped out. It would continue until and unless the quality of education given to the downtrodden is on par with what the rich could afford. That is where these changes have originated from that thought. In fact, if I would want to see my government children, the downtrodden children, get the same education as my own children would get, or probably your own children would get, or probably any of the affluent class parents would provide for their children.
Because, you have made making English medium schools or teaching English across schools one of the priority areas across government schools. Even bringing in TOEFL from class 3. I mean, an exam which is a global exam, you bring it into schools from class 3 onwards, they get exposed to English, which has led to some criticism, including from the former Vice President Venkaiah Naidu ji, who said, we should be teaching Telugu medium to our schools. Are you diminishing Telugu by forcing students to learn English? How do you respond to that?
See, what is very important, Rajdeep, is the so-called people who criticize me on government schools being converted into English medium. I mean, one straight question what they should ask themselves is their children and their grandchildren, what are they studying? Are they sending their children and their grandchildren also to Telugu medium schools? That's the first question what anybody should be asking themselves before they could question me on my initiative towards English medium schools.
So your answer to Venkaiah Naidu is essentially, please tell us, sir, where did you send your children or your grandchildren to? You're saying you want to bridge that gap and you believe English is a critical element, because is it easy for someone who's in a small village in Andhra Pradesh to immediately be able to be exposed to English language? Will it lead to dropouts is the fear? Will it lead to a disruption in their education?
Not so, Rajdeep, because it's a comprehensive plan of action which has been put in place. To begin with, we've ensured that every textbook is bilingual. One page Telugu, one page English. All our textbooks are bilingual. We've ensured that Byju's content is also integrated into our content. We've also ensured that the facilities in our government schools are totally upgraded. There's a Nadu Nedu program which speaks of only upgrading the infrastructure in school. Every classroom going forward from 6th and above, you have IFPs. In fact, we have close to 62,000 classrooms, which are 6th and above. So far, as we speak, we've already fitted close to 40,000 IFPs. And my team had given me a report that the balance would be also done. They'd given me a date of Jan end, but government, you know, being government, maybe on the higher side, maybe Feb. Maybe by Feb end, at least definitely, all the classrooms, the balance of the classrooms of 20,000, also would be fitted with IFPs. So it's a transition what you're moving towards. With bilingual textbooks, with subject teacher concept from 3rd grade onwards, with capacity building of the teachers also taking place simultaneously, with IFPs, with Byju's content, all this put together, and a student, when he reaches the 8th grade, we are on December 21st, we also give them tabs. So every student, government student who is 8th class gets a tab also in the 8th class with the preloaded Byju's content.
Every government student in Andhra Pradesh in 8th standard gets a tablet with this content readily available. The reason I'm asking you is because one of the things in COVID we found was the vast digital divide. Those who did not have access to technology found themselves losing out across the country. And Andhra also at that time was no exception. It was a difficult period for all. Are you saying today with confidence that you will have over the next few years, since they've now got it in 8th, over the next 3 years, every student 8th, 9th and 10th in Andhra Pradesh will have a tablet that he or she can work out of?
8th and 9th children they already have tablets, because this is 2 years have already passed. We started off, the whole theme is the moment they get to the 8th class, on December 21st, we give them tabs. So
that's your birthday. That's your birthday gift to Andhra Pradesh, is a tablet. Right? Effectively, it's not a bad birthday to give. Bad birthday gift to be giving people.
It's usually that I go to these schools, spend time with the children there on my birthday. So on that particular day, the thing that is closest to my heart, I do it. So.
But you see, the question will arise, is Jagan Mohan Reddy trying too much too soon? Because as you said yourself just now, government systems take time to catch up. You're pushing them in the direction of making even these schools not just nationally but globally competitive. You're bringing even international baccalaureate, the kind of prestigious education that is only seen in the big city schools. Is it too much? Are you going too fast at times? Do you worry that, because that's the criticism from opposition parties, it will lead to dropouts, enrollments will drop out, parents will wonder, is this the education I want to give my children, or do you believe that aspirational India is ready for it?
With IB, the thing is, in fact, IB is, they're joining our SCERT, our board, state board, on 31st. So from that particular day, IB would be part of our SCERT, our board. The roadmap with IB is the first year, that is 24, 20, till June 25. It's only going to be capacity building to the teachers, the whole year. Then going forward from June 2000, from 25 onwards, 2025 June onwards, going forward, one class per year. That is, they start off with the first class. Then year after that, the transformation into IB is moved into second class. Then the third class. By 2035, you would have our children in government schools appear exams competing for an IB certificate. It's going to be a certificate with the state government collaboration with IB. And this certificate would be the same certificate on par with international baccalaureate certificate given abroad, given anywhere internationally. So that is the roadmap with IB. The reason why we're just moving in this direction is because, Rajdeep, as I said, it is the quality of education which is the most significant thing. If the quality of education is not good enough, our children can never compete globally. So we're not talking about India as one country now. Now the world has become a next door place. So we're talking about a situation where our children would have to be competing globally. And you cannot say that only the rich can compete globally. Then you would never see an India, an aspirational India, if only the rich can compete with globally. So you need to ensure that the downtrodden section catches up. You need to ensure that the downtrodden section are equipped with the skills going forward that they could be competing globally.
But two questions arise from what you've just said. It's a great vision to make, let's say, someone in rural Guntur be able to compete with someone in the United States or in any Western country. But capacity building in terms of teachers, to have those quality teachers who can actually be able to impart this education. Because there's a sense that, as I said, are you going too fast? Will you be able to get teachers, enough teachers in your government schools who can provide that quality education that you speak of?
As I said, it is an effort combined with IB. IB and the state government are coming together. In fact, all my appreciation and thanks to IB as well. The Director General, the people there in IB, after we had interacted with them, in fact, I personally also interacted, we could convince them to become part of us. So now IB officially is setting up their office alongside our SCERT, becoming part of SCERT. And they're moving here. So this is the game changer. Now they become part of us. So now with this vision, the goal is 2035. Our children would appear for 10th, writing IB. So that is the goal with which the state government and IB together are working towards.
So it's a 12-year project. You're saying over these 12 years, you will build that capacity with teachers, with the support of IB is what you're claiming.
Absolutely. The first year going for capacity building of the teachers. Then onwards, every year, one class. First, the first grade, then the second grade, then the third grade, then the fourth grade, fifth, sixth, and so on and so forth, till they reach the 10th, and then 11th and 12th.
This will require, some believe, a huge amount of resources, funds. Governments are often accused of not investing enough in education. For you, Do you believe that that is again a question? Do you have enough funds? Does Andhra Pradesh today have the kind of funds to realize this vision, this dream that you have?
Funds per se, Rajdeep, IB is also understanding enough that this is a government project. To them, they also want to prove to the world that IB is not just only for the aloof. So there has been an understanding reached with IB that they also become part of the state government. That being the case, it's not exactly going to be that kind of royalties what the high premium schools usually pay for the IBs, what they would be asking for from the state government. So it's an effort from the state government and IB together to get to a place to showcase to the world that the downtrodden sections can also be taught IB, quality of education could be made available here. And as far as the funds are concerned, Rajdeep, the school infrastructure is being upgraded totally. It's been a process where the total outlay is approximately, our people have projected the total outlay would be approximately 14,000 crores. We've already spent 8,300 crores already. We have a total capacity of 44,000 schools. We've Nadu Nedu phase 1, 15,575 schools have already been completed. The second phase, unique schools of another 16,000 or so, or also the second phase activities going on in Nadu Nedu. We would be completing by this March or so. The second phase, which would be the last step for IFP panels also to be fitted in. So going forward, in 2 phases, covering almost 2/3 of the school, more or less is complete. The balance, 3rd phase, we would be taking up this activity in next year, and then we would be completing going forward in the next 1 or 2 years.
You know, I look at some of Andhra Pradesh's numbers. In 2018, Andhra Pradesh's gross enrollment ratio for primary education was 84.48% compared to a national average of 99.21%. Now, how do you make sure that those children don't drop out? That many of these children who are sort of throwing this great dream of giving them an opportunity to compete with the best and have the best systems, how do you do that? You have this scheme, the Jagan Anna Amma Bodi. Are you basically doing what the Modi model is, if I may say so? Direct benefit transfers. I mean, not just Mr. Modi, but most governments now doing, put money in people's pocket and make sure that that money is used for a child's education.
In fact, what we're doing currently is, Rajdeep, when we had first visualized the situation, we were probably, our state was probably figuring in the bottommost, the GER ratio, as you just spoke about, figuring in the bottommost, probably in 36, 30, probably then it was...
Yeah, you were among the lower ranked states.
Probably then we were out of 36 then, 36 states and union territories put together. Out of those 36, we were probably 32 or 33 then, figuring in the bottommost list. So that being the GER ratio, it was imperative on our part to come up with innovative things. One, figuring out as to why the children are not going to schools. It started off from there, and then the kind of transformation that is being brought about in schools, the transformation what has been brought about in midday meals. You know, our midday meals is probably one among the very few states probably who can boast about it. Every day the child eats a different menu. It's called Goru Mudda. We've christened that midday meal program as Goru Mudda, where a child eats a different food every day and it's a menu.
It's interesting you're saying that because I know that Tamil Nadu takes great pride in their midday meal scheme. They say how we give mango shake to students. Are you telling me Monday to Friday you give 5 different meals to your students?
Absolutely.
Our reporters can go and check this out across schools of Andhra Pradesh.
I thought they had already done it, but...
Yes, some of them have gone to school, but we will go back to each and every one since you're saying it.
You should, in fact. So, from there the transformation started. We've improved the quality of food in a midday meal, a motivating factor for parents to send children to school. Then infrastructure in the school was totally upgraded, is being upgraded, where we've targeted 10 specific modifications in schools which are to be done. Clean toilets, the classrooms 6th and above IFPs, repairs, the furniture being upgraded, clean drinking water. These kind of specific details, what every school should have. So we focused on that and we ensured that these 10 are ticked off in every school.
How do you ensure oversight that what you're saying in Vijayawada is being implemented in every corner of the state? How do you ensure some element of accountability from each and every school? Because we've seen in the past, government schools have not maintained the standards that they should. There are exceptions.
We have, there's a thorough monitoring system in place. The headmasters, the school committees, the joint collectors, the collectors. There's a monitoring system in place, and every school is monitored. And at my level, since I personally monitor what's happening and I periodically take reviews, not only with the education department also, but with also the collectors also. So there is an element of, once if the CM himself is taking reviews, the government automatically moves on a particular subject.
Now I know why you spend so little time in Delhi. Because you've got to do this level of micromanagement here in Andhra Pradesh. But, one challenge, of course, is not just quality education, but also ensuring that education makes people employable. One of the challenges you've had in Andhra, even before you came to power, is unemployment. Graduates from Andhra had one of the highest unemployment rates in India at 35%. Is that a challenge to provide skills, make them either entrepreneurial or provide them the skills that will enable them to compete in this increasingly globalizing world?
The focus was just not only on schools alone, Rajdeep. Even the higher education also, a lot of focus was applied on. So much so that we changed the curriculum, made it more job-oriented. Our degrees, which are usually 3-year courses, are now internship is made mandatory in those courses, where the summer vacation also somebody utilizes for internship. And all these courses, degree courses, are made 4 years with an honors degree as well. So you have online verticals, you have certificate giving online verticals also being made, which are also being offered as part of the curriculum. So you have internship, which is mandatory. You have online verticals, part of the curriculum. In fact, so much so that we're also we're inking a deal with edX. Going forward, I think next month we are inking a deal with them, where almost 1,800 subjects, if I'm correct, 1,800 subjects, where what we're doing, Rajdeep, is we're giving, in a particular subject, if somebody were to take, we're improving the verticals, making it part of the curriculum with credits. And these subjects are going to be directly from Harvard, LSE, these kind of premium institutes through edX would be offering these courses online.
Give me an example of a possible course that you think could be offered. Computers, what would be offered?
Say for instance, say BCom, for instance, or none of them know about asset management. None of them know about risk management. These kind of verticals you will find only in the Western world. A degree is offered which has got multiple verticals, specializations, which are offered, which are available to a student only in the Western world. Now what we're doing is we're bringing those verticals, become part of our curriculum here through online education, where credits are offered, and this certificate is from that particular university directly, with Harvard, with LSE, with LBS, and all these people become part of, through edX, become part of our curriculum. And this examination is conducted online once again, with the certificate finally being issued by these premium institute. LSE would give a certificate. Harvard would give a certificate. So that particular subject would now become a part of our curriculum with that particular subject certified by them.
You know, I've often said South India is way ahead of the North. And we are, you know, in these 20 minutes with the Chief Minister, you're getting a sense of just why South India is working in a completely different ecosystem. The reason, you know, Jagan Mohan Reddy ji, is because over the years, there was the Kerala model that pushed for literacy. There's Arvind Kejriwal, who also talks about raising the bar when it comes to government schools. But you seem to be building your own unique model. It's the Hyderabad public school student who's now decided that you want to invest in education for the future. Do you believe education can win you elections? That if I go to the people, and you've got an election, and we'll come to politics in a moment, but I go to the people and say, look, I have done ABC for you in the field of education. Do you believe that this vision of yours can win you also elections? Or are elections disconnected from your vision for education?
See, politics is something else, Rajdeep. Usually nobody bothers about the children, nobody bothers about the students because they are not voters. That's unfortunately the problem with our political leaders. But then the fact is, until and unless those lives are touched, are changed, you would never come to a stage where poverty could be removed, where poverty could be eradicated. Only with quality education given to these children in probably 10 years' time, where this generation actually who's in the first class comes out of the college, maybe 10th and 12th and then the college. In 10 years' time or 12 years' time or 13 years' time, you would see this generation actually displayed to the world. And when they are displayed to the world, you would actually be seeing such a kind of transformation that the pool, that the quality, what this quality of education would provide, this pool of students would be far more superior when compared to anybody, even in the globe. I mean, they would be competing at the global level.
So you're saying your vision is moving from literacy levels to quality education levels. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think the Chief Minister deserves a big hand in a way for reflecting that vision so openly. Even if you are half successful in this, you would have created some kind of an Andhra model for education. But I want to talk a bit of politics, if only because you've got an election in a couple of months, where you will be once again hitting the road. And I want to understand, how confident are you of getting re-elected? Is it easier now, 5 years, when you go to the people asking for votes on governance? Or is it easier when you were in the opposition in 2019, having done your yatra and taking on the Chandrababu Naidu government? Are you feeling more confident today than you were in 2019? Honest answer.
Rajdeep, hope is always stronger than reality. That having said, in this particular case, in my case, I would definitely say one thing. What has been done, what has been promised, what has been done, if one were to see the manifesto, 99% of our manifesto has been implemented. Not only implemented, but taken to the people as well, shown that manifesto once again, and that manifesto is also ratified by people. That is the kind of credibility that is in place in this government. And the kind of transformations that took place. We've brought in a village secretariat at the village level. For every 2,000 population, there is a village secretariat. For every 60 to 70 houses, there is a volunteer in place. Every scheme is given to every deserving person without any discrimination or without any corruption. Everything is DBT.
Direct benefit transfer, you're claiming that you're going this time to the elections on the basis of your manifesto, which you claim you've implemented, and your welfare measures across sectors, and putting money in people's banks. Am I correct?
The important thing is, Rajdeep, DBT is one part of the whole transformation. But the whole thing is your schools have changed. Your health sector, the health sector has changed. The governance model has changed. Women empowerment has changed. And added to this, you're bringing in a DBT which is directly into the hands of the people without any corruption or any discrimination. That is the most, all this put together would ensure that my government would be re-elected.
You're saying you'll be re-elected. You're saying you'll be re-elected on the welfare measures that you brought in. But this time it seems somehow that the entire opposition or a major part of it is targeting you. They're saying Jagan Mohan Reddy's government riddled with corruption. They will target you, and they consistently say promises not met. Is that now, do you feel cornered in some way when every party here seems to make you the target?
I think no opposition can say promises have not met. No opposition can speak about corruption. With 2,53,000 crores of rupees through DBT in these 56 months. That is the kind of money that we're talking about. And the worst part is, it's the same government, it's the same budget. The growth rate in debt also, when compared to my previous regime, is less in our regime. So how is it that a government, same budget, the only change is the chief minister? They could not do it. This government could do it. And people are actually the witness to it.
You mentioned briefly their government versus your government, effectively referring to your predecessor, Chandrababu Naidu. Chandrababu Naidu and his team say that you have used state power to target them. You've stifled them. Their voice has been silenced. The former chief minister went to jail a couple of months ago. He blamed you for pushing, he said, cases against him, which he said was illegal. His arrest was illegal. Your response, this charge of vendetta politics, of settling scores in Andhra Pradesh?
Absolutely not, Rajdeep. See, the fact that he was arrested is because of the corruption charges that are leveled against him. And all these corruption charges have gone to the court. I mean, he fought tooth and nail in the court. And the judge and the judges at various levels were convinced with the evidences that were available, that were produced, which actually resulted in he being in prison for those 52 days or those 2 months. So how can anybody say that it is vendetta politics?
He says misuse of state CID.
See, basically, Rajdeep, nobody can misuse any government agency because ultimately the litmus test would be the courts. See, anybody who is arrested would obviously go to the court. And in those courts, if the courts are not convinced that there is sufficient evidence there, then you fall flat. And more so in these particular high-profile cases, especially when the elections are around the corner, no chief minister would take that risk of arresting somebody until and unless the case is very strong, until and unless there is substantial evidence.
Who is your main opposition, though, in 2024? Is it the national parties like the Congress and the BJP, or is it Chandrababu Naidu who's tied up with Pawan Kalyan's Jan Sena? Is Andhra Pradesh this unique state where the fight is going to be between two powerful regional parties, YSRCP versus Telugu Desam? Telugu Desam Jan Sena.
In Andhra Pradesh, Rajdeep, the national parties, both of them are insignificant. Congress or the BJP, they do not have much of a presence here. Yes, the fight would be obviously our party, YSRCP, against the combined forces of Telugu Desam Party and Janasena, both of them. And of course, they have other like-minded people and parties supporting them who come together and fight against us.
You know, you were making the headlines, or your party has been making the headlines because 3 of your MPs have resigned, a third resigned this week. Apparently, many of them are being denied tickets. You dropped 58 MLAs and you're dropping 10 MPs. Is this a reflection that there could be anti-incumbency? Why are you dropping so many sitting MLAs and MPs if there is no anti-incumbency? And if they are leaving your party, what is the signal that's being sent out?
See, the fact is, Rajdeep, every party conducts their own surveys. And every party, based on those surveys, based on the perception they believe in, they would actually make these changes. See, the fact is, there is a government which is delivered. People are happy with the government. That's what we strongly believe. That's what the surveys, what we have conducted, have also revealed. But there are a lot of cases where the perception on the MLAs and the local leaders per se is not all that good. So at times, based on various caste dynamics, based on perception, that a party would be forced to make these changes. And in our case, elections just around the corner, just 70 or 80 days down the line. Rather than making those changes at the last minute and creating a lot of confusion, we decided that we will make those changes now itself, so that the entire confusion comes up now itself and it dies down before the elections come any closer.
Basically, you don't want to make the same mistakes that K. Chandrasekhar Rao made in Telangana, where he didn't change sufficient number of sitting MLAs. It's interesting how you're sort of putting it, but you said your main rivals are the regional parties, the Chandrababu Naidu and the Janasena, which leaves open the question, the national parties. We saw Mr. Naidu at the Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha ceremony. He seems to want to go close to the BJP. You seem to have given issue-based support to the BJP in parliament on various issues. How do we read this? Is every Andhra party wooing the BJP and Prime Minister Modi?
So we've always maintained our line, Rajdeep. So it's very important that the state maintains a cordial relationship with the central government. It's very important that it is required for the development of the state. So we've maintained that line. And while maintaining so, we've ensured that every subject is thoroughly looked into, and issue-based support is extended.
Issue-based support. So if even after the 24 elections, if you win, you would provide issue-based support to whoever comes to power at the center, or specifically the BJP?
Let's revisit this topic when it's the right time.
But issue-based support for now, right?
Absolutely.
For now, issue-based support, which leaves the Congress party. Because that also is, Andhra is making headlines again because guess what? The Congress party has chosen to make your sister, Y.S. Sharmila, their party chief. I know this is difficult, but is it that the legacy of Y.S. Rajshekhar Reddy is now going to be split within the family? How do you respond that you may well have to go into this election with your sister on the other side?
Congress is basically playing dirty, Rajdeep. Congress has got this tradition of playing dirty as far as state politics are concerned, in our states more specifically. They have divided the state for their own political gains. Unjustly divided the state, more so. Divide and rule. Be it the state, divide and rule, be it our family. Even when I had gone against the Congress party, they had pitted my own uncle. They had made him a minister, and they had forced him to contest against me when I had broken away from Congress party, when I had resigned from the Congress party in those days, and contested on our own party. The Congress always does this. They divide and rule. Unfortunately, now, once again, they've not learned their lessons. So once again, they've divided my family, brought in my sister to actually lead their party. But unfortunately, what they do not understand is ultimately there is a greater power than the Congress party or any of the parties here. There's a God there. And ultimately, God would ensure that these people are taught a lesson properly.
Are you angry, bitter? Because, when I look at it, your father, late father, was the one who helped the Congress form a government in 2004. There would have been no UPA government without Y.S. Rajshekhar Reddy, both in 2004 and certainly in 2004, to some extent 2009. Are you angry, bitter, or it's part of life?
There were days, Rajdeep, when, that bitterness was there. But, as we moved on, ultimately, it is God it's God whom I strongly believe in that. That, ultimately, eventually, God is watching. So whatever they've done, they probably would have reaped by now, seeing what the plight of Congress party today is. Or probably going forward, it might even get worse off. It's only God who can decide.
It's interesting we are referring to God while we are here in Tirupati. So let me end by, in a way, reflecting back from the Jagan Mohan Reddy that I first met about 15, 16 years ago when you first became a member of parliament. You've gone through all the ups and downs. What's the biggest change from the Jagan Mohan Reddy that I met 15, 16 years ago as a young man entering politics to Jagan Mohan Reddy now, a chief minister for 5 years, who's willing to go to the people on his track record, as you've told me in this interview? What's the biggest change that we've seen in you?
Change seen in me? Not sure, Rajdeep. I think you're a better judge. Probably you would be You'll be a better judge probably to tell me the change.
Well, one change I've seen, you're more cautious, careful, and you're also focusing almost entirely on governance more than politics. I want to tell this audience, when we were coming here, there was a young girl who came up to Jagan Mohan Reddy and said, thank you, and put out the tablet that she had received on your birthday and said, I've got this because of you. Is that what gives you a sense of satisfaction at the end of these 5 years? That if there are hundreds and thousands of that little girl out there who've got tablets, who perhaps have this opportunity for a quality education that you're promising them, that's what will give you the greatest satisfaction.
Absolutely, Rajdeep. These 56 months, I'd say, Rajdeep, have been those months where I can say to myself that I've done my bit. And no regrets. I've ensured that I've touched so many crores of people. And I have, that's what gives me the satisfaction that even if I were to step down today, I have absolutely no regrets. I'm more than happy.
And you're going to and significantly, here is the Chief Minister who says, I'm going to the people of Andhra Pradesh in 2024 asking for votes on my record, right? Which the opposition is saying, we're ready to challenge you. You're saying, bring it on.
Absolutely, Rajdeep. In fact, all of my speeches in public meetings these days, I've been just telling one thing. If you have benefited from our governance, only then stand with me.
That's very bold. That shows a sense of confidence. And maybe that's one of the changes that's come from the young man who I met in 2009, who was at that time accused of being rather brash. Now I see the young man self-confident and ready to reach out to the people based on his work that he says he's done in the last 5 years. We'll see which way the people of Andhra Pradesh vote in a few months for now. But for now, for giving us your vision, particularly in the education sector and the road ahead, the Andhra model of education, as we are now going to call it, Jagan Mohan Reddy, ladies and gentlemen, please give him a very big hand. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for the Honorable Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu, for joining us here and gracing us at the stage of the India Today Education Summit. IAS, State Project Director of the Samagra Shiksha Government of Andhra Pradesh. Also welcoming on stage Lijo Sam Uman, Chief Revenue Officer of ETS India, Vivek Agarwal, Chief Executive Officer of Liquid, and Amit Kapoor, CEO of UFS Learning. A big round of applause, please, for all of our panelists. Good evening, gentlemen. Lovely to have all of you with us here at the India Today Education Summit. Mr. Rao, if I can begin with you. The topic of course, this panel, this discussion is English as a catalyst. And we've seen that even with what the Honorable Chief Minister said about the steps the government has taken to ensure that students have access to English education, which largely for many years has been missing in government schools particularly. Can you just, to kind of kick off the session, give us a sense of the steps that have been taken?
Yeah, so good evening everyone. So good evening my co-panelists. So as just now our Honorable Chief Minister has said that the importance of English medium in bringing into government education sector. So as he was mentioned, Government of Andhra Pradesh has been in the forefront in bringing proactive measures to strengthen the school education department in making our children globally competitive and future ready. So with this ambitious vision in mind, and also with the alignment of national education policy, communication skills is one of the important critical skills to bring into the curriculum of school education. So to start with, Government of Andhra Pradesh has embarked upon an ambitious journey by introducing English medium across all the government-run schools. So if you look at the journey, started from 2019, so government has set up a goal by 2024-25, every school in Andhra Pradesh run by the government should have only one medium, that is called English medium. So to start with, for first 6 grades, class 1 to 6, we have transformed the medium from Telugu to English medium. But I would rather take you to a decade back. So is this the first initiative taken up by this government, or any attempts made by the governments earlier to test this case? So in 2008, I think in 2008, so one of the attempts were made in the name of success schools, in which one section of class has been converted into English medium with the affiliation of CBSE. And in 2019, I think with the MHRD support and guidelines, so like other states, Government of Andhra Pradesh has also implemented English as a medium of instruction in 165 schools. We are calling them as model schools. So with these 2 pilots in hand, as a proof of case, I think the Government of Andhra Pradesh has thought of implementing, universalizing this medium of instruction as English. As our CM sir said, I think probably he might have think about the sense of aspiration from the community, from the parents, and the rising demand from the society. So he might have taken the decision with the help of the then think tank, with the education secretary who was there in 2019-20.
I think what we've seen in the course of this education summit is that the government also has very actively had private partnerships. And in this case, of course, we've got representatives from UFS, Liquid and ETS because of the role that all of them have also had in ensuring that English education is possible in government schools. So Mr. Uman, if I can begin with you. As far as ETS goes, you've ensured customized English assessments When we say customized, what exactly does that mean? Have you kind of catered to the need of government school students? How different is that from ensuring that other, schools, what kind of customization or assessments are provided there instead?
Subha, I think this is a wonderful question. Again, I would like to start by welcoming all my fellow panelists. I think it's great to be here. I think the Honorable Chief Minister set the context, right? I mean, how do we demarcate, right? Basically, how does a message from the Chief Minister's office reach to the end of it, right? So basically, having equitable, making education equitable or making language learning equitable, right? So as ETS, our core principles, ETS is a not-for-profit organization set up in the United States of America. Our core principle is to ensure there is equity and at the same time quality in education, right? So we thrive on equity. And again, to answer you straight on your question, how do we ensure? See, the current format which we are working with the Andhra Pradesh government is one of its kind. So we operate in many different countries across the globe, but what we have for Andhra Pradesh government and the kids from the 3rd grade to the 10th grade are entirely different to what we offer across the globe, right? Because like you said, language learning from our perspective is personalized. And we're talking about the marginalized in the society, right? How do we cater to that? Because
so does that mean, you started from scratch?
Oh, absolutely. Whatever we built for Andhra Pradesh, we have a 75-year long history, but we obviously banked on our history. We are operating in different countries. We took our learnings out of these countries and built a unique solution, working very closely with the state government. And it's a unique proposition which we have for Andhra Pradesh government to answer you.
How interesting. We'll kind of talk about that also in a bit, but just for introductory remarks so I can ensure that, we kind of establish what everyone does here. We have Mr. Vivek Agarwal, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Liquid, and this is something that the Chief Minister also spoke about how the Andhra government has ensured that students are prepared for TOEFL from a very, very young age, and you've played an active role in that as well.
So I think if you look back, things of last 2 days specifically, the two things that in my mind stand out. See, I've sort of been in technology for the last 25 years. And I say this with all sincerity that, technology is easy. I think implementation is hard. What we have seen in the last 2 days, the Chief Minister said it, Mr. Prakash said it yesterday. What I heard today in the school visit from Mr. Prakash throughout, that it's a journey, it's a vision, it's a culture building, right? And I think that effort, that approach, as opposed to seeking immediate benefits and returns, is what will, now we heard from the Chief Minister say the implementation of the international curriculum is a 12-year program, right? Now that's vision. Right, and that we don't often see. So, like for example, TOEFL training that we are implementing, it made our life a lot easier because, see, everybody wants their children to speak English, right? I mean, that's a given. But how do children speak English? They have to listen to English. That's how we learn our first language, by listening to the language that our parents speak, right? So in schools, if students don't, at home, students typically will not listen to the language. So if they don't listen to it in school, then they're never going to be able to speak the language. So the infrastructure, and this is again an example of, why one whiteboard for one school, 10 whiteboards for each school, whiteboard in every class. Now students have access to opportunity to listen to good English. Right? And and we've done several innovations around that. So for example, we're using multimedia content, which keeps the students' interest. We're using SCRT content. So, if you use SCRT history curriculum to teach English, you shoot 2 birds with 1 stone because you teach about history, teach about English. They're very detailed, structured. The idea is to make teachers' life very easy. So you created very, very specific instructions that the teacher, it makes teacher's life easy, right? So those kind of things, coupled, like I said, with it becoming a subject, means you talk about students, traditionally, there's been this concept of language lab in schools, right? Which meant that students were getting access one class a week for language related using multimedia software. Now, with TOEFL teaching, it's a subject, right? So it's getting 1 hour a day, 6 hours a week. Now you're going to see impact, right? Because the whole system is geared up. So absolutely, I mean, technology is, I keep saying technology is 10%, implementation is the last 90%, and that is the difference here.
And the implementation we've already seen on the ground and all of the school visits that we've also done. Mr. Amit Kapoor of UFES Learning, very often the criticism, and when you talk about ensuring students, are well-versed in English, is it's often kind of, by-hearting, which is a serious problem in the Indian education system. You by-heart it, put it out in the exam paper, 100 on 100, you've succeeded, achieved what you need to in life. And I think what's very, very interesting in the Andhra education model is that it's not just about writing these exams, it's about being able to hold a conversation, which is where also, of course, you play a very important role.
So, thank you for the question. And after hearing the fellow panelists and the last 2 days, right, or I would say in the last 12 months, whenever we have visited a school, along with the state team, on ground, the enthusiasm of the initiatives makes it very heartening, first of all. And as Vivek was saying, implementation. If teachers are excited, I think half of your battle is won, because then they take it across to students. I remember going to a school, 10 o'clock in night, the teaching staff being there, meeting us and enthusiastically sharing about what they are doing. Telling about the assessment is something they could only dream about, the TOEFL assessment. Now it will be available to each and every student of their school, which is a matter of pride for them. This is something which keeps, I think, all of us awake.
Very true. I think I remember a video also going viral of a student from Andhra Pradesh speaking in English, speaking with an American accent. And she was a school student, so it went completely viral because of how quickly they were able to grasp this. And I think that's very important. The fact that we're starting them young, because they can easily then imbibe all the information that you give them. But, Mr. Rao, there are a lot of questions about whether this kind of English education comes at the cost of putting down regional languages. And is English education equal to Telugu not getting its due? How do you ensure that you keep that balance?
So we have just transformed the medium from Telugu to English. We are not denying Telugu as a subject. Still, Telugu is there. It is the second language subject. So 98% of our students have opting Telugu as their second language. And government is also thinking to mandate Telugu as the compulsory language in this tri-language formula. So, and also, so why the government has taken this initiative? What has causing them, what the think tank taken this robust or revolutionary decision, you can say, overnight. So if you look at the journey from post-90, post-liberalization, so the number of schools which having English medium in private sector, the number is increasing year by year. And also if you look at the journey of the other states, for example, if you take Rajasthan have requested applications to fill their school seats. When you look at the number of applications, they got 3 times more number of applications for English medium than Telugu medium. If you look at the Jammu Kashmir, the parents have demanded, 98% parents have shown interest in English medium. So this phenomena is everywhere in India. So if you look at in 2020-21 UDICE data, almost 24% of the schools, together private, we have in English medium. So we can't deny the people's aspiration. So that's why I think the governments have taken up this decision. Still, we respect our mother tongue, we respect our language. That's why we kept it as a language under the second language category.
Just a quick follow-up to that, and I had asked this to Mr. Prakash as well about whether you're kind of arming students to be able to go abroad, to go to the United States and study there, or better infrastructure here. So if I had to kind of twist that around the language issue, is the government kind of focusing on giving more opportunities for those who speak Telugu, or is it about making English more accessible, or is it a twin focus?
So basically, I can touch upon the controversy that has happened during the implementation of the initiative. So most of the linguists, education psychologists, so-called people have argued that, so despite of NEP saying that classroom transaction should happen in their mother tongue during the formative years, like in foundational schools. So why government is taking towards this bold step by denying them the mother tongue? So the fact is, government has created, in the name of access, so many schools. We have invested crores of rupees in creating the education infrastructure. Whereas when you look at the enrollment side, the people who can afford, they are tilting towards private sector. So in 2020, I think, so government has conducted one survey with the parents. So 96% of the parents in Andhra Pradesh, teachers have opted for English medium. They were prone to the English medium. So what a popular governance can do to fulfill the aspirations of the public, or to roam around the policy issues. So government has simply accepted the people will by respecting the sentiments of the language and to protect the local language.
Mr. Uman, when we talk about, the aspirations of the public, it's quite true when Mr. Rao says that largely the aspiration is to ensure that, the next generation knows English, and because of all of your global opportunities essentially being in English. With what the Andhra government has done, and do you see this in your experience happening in any other state really in the country?
See, again, they are the lead runners, set the ball rolling for the rest of the governments to emulate, right? That's what I would want to basically, there is significant interest after Andhra Pradesh government has kind of got into initiative with ETS is what I can put on record at this point in time. And again, to add to Srinivasa sir's point is that we are not playing one over the other, right? For example, I'll just give you a quick language, some data points on language, right? So if I need to be called a advanced speaker in English, I need to learn anywhere between I need to know 10,000 odd words, okay? Generally in language, we're not talking about English. Telugu has 60,000 odd vocabulary, 60,000 odd vocabulary in the Telugu language, yeah? And if you need to be a master in Telugu, you need to know at least 10,000 words. That's when you've called an advanced learner, okay? Whereas English, if you need to be called a proficient or okay, reasonable learner, you just need to know 5,000 words, right? So I'm saying regional language is the base for our English language, right? So again, so I think that's what we need to basically remove that silo approach, dissect this, and see what the government or what we as an organization are trying to achieve. I mean, like what Sir said, I just wanted to add to that. Thanks.
That's an important point that you look at it together. I know Telugu, but if you ask me to say 10,000 words, I really don't know if I can do that. So not definitely an advanced speaker. I've learned that now. Also, Mr. Vivek, what we've seen with the Andhra government and what we've seen in these government schools is that they're starting off these initiatives for young students. It's not just the class 9 and upwards, which is what you see very, very often in government schools. This kind of an initiative and this outlook of starting off young, how much of a difference does that really make?
No, it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, there's no question about it. See, when you learn a language when you're 15 or 16, in college, you're really doing band-aids. It's very difficult to learn a language properly if you don't learn it in the, in fact, there's this very sad story of this girl who was this child who was sort of not allowed to speak, nor was spoken to for 10 years by her parents in the US. And when she was finally released, she could never talk properly after that. So, I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. And, specifically on English, to your point about English versus Tamil or English versus Hindi, see, English is world's second language. There are almost 1 billion people speaking English as a second language. And out of that, maybe 100 million are in India. So, our first language will always be the language where we interact with our family, our close friends, within our community. But English is the language of business, right? We can't have this conversation if you talk in Telugu and I talk in Hindi, right? We can't have the conversation. So so English is...
It's a bridge.
And nature, so just one more, English, the nature is also changing. See, initially, maybe 200 years ago, English was English as a foreign language, okay? So everybody had to speak it the way global a native speaker would speak, the Queen's English, right? Then it moved to English as a foreign language. When the British had to manage their colonies, they created this layer of people between them and the local who would speak the language. English is a second language. And then now English is a global language, right? And English is a very flexible language, right? It doesn't have a central institute which says what's right, what's wrong. If Oxford or Cambridge publish a word in a dictionary, it becomes accepted, right? So in global English, today's, if I say, it doesn't matter if I say parent or I say parent, we can have a conversation. Cabin, I may say, if I'm from UP, I may say Joan instead of zone, okay? But we're still having a conversation. It doesn't matter. Now, where TOEFL takes you is actually English as a second language, because then you're able to function in a global environment. Right? And that is where the difference in the language approach and language learning is. But short answer to your question, the fact that they're starting early makes all the difference.
How many states really do that right now, sir? How many states actually do that right now, ensuring you start them off young?
Like I said, I think most states talk about it. Some sort of most states have some sort of initiative. And I'm not an expert, I mean, I haven't worked with all the states, but for whatever I have seen, the focus on implementation and the vision and dovetailing it into the system, right? Like the Chief Minister mentioned, the IB curriculum, people are sitting with the SERT, right? That kind of thing I have not really seen too much of.
Mr. Amit, what we've also spoken about here is ensuring, and we started off with that, about conversational English. What inevitably happens then when you ensure that these students have access to be able to, open up, have a conversation, very freewheeling kind of chat in English, that perhaps gives you more employment opportunities, more global opportunities than anything else, in my sense.
Sure, so I'll probably add to that. If you look at parents, today with the TOEFL assessment, at a young age, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5 parent getting a feedback of a global benchmark. Parents can't think about it in a public school ever, right? You are getting that, so from young age, if you start getting feedback, as Vivek was saying, from young age, kids, parents getting active feedback, which is a global benchmark, great help for students to evolve, become much, much better, and that's how they start becoming more confident also. Because then you are aspiring not for that classroom or that school, you are looking from a global perspective. That starts very young and that takes off.
I think it's transformative for families also.
Also, yes, proven research that says that bilingual children grow up to be more intelligent and productive than children who grow up speaking one language.
That's an advantage then that most Indian households also have, because they all know so many languages, regional plus English added plus. We've got Mr. Rao, you've got ETS, you've got UFES, you've got Liquid, all of them coming on board. How did that really work, you know? And I've said this before, I said this on day one also. What's really made this a transformative journey for education in Andhra Pradesh is the fact that you have these great tie-ups. At no point did the Andhra government say, look, we'll ensure this transformation on our own. You've made smart associations, smart tie-ups. So how did that work also in recognizing that, look, to overcome the language barrier of English, we need to get private players on board?
I would say we have more than 20 partners working with the school education department. Since it is a social sector, it is always a space for any good NGO, any good agency can collaborate and work for the good cause. So, for the transition, for smooth transition of the language, so state has been taken many steps. So, for example, the CM has just mentioned about the bilingual textbook. So, everyone is talking about bilingual textbook. I will just show to the audience. So
I'll hold the mic for you.
So if you look at this textbook, the left side, so you have the content in English. The right side, you have the content of translation of English into Telugu. So the beauty of textbook is you have this QR code which is energized with the textbook, which navigates either student or teacher to the Diksha platform where they have more digital content. It may be a worksheet, it may be an experiment, it may be a remedial material. So this is the, I think I can say it's the patent of Andhra Pradesh. Many states have emulated and reciprocated it. I can proudly say that. So, so not only this initiative, for that smooth transition, so if you look at the corridor, there is an exhibition where we have displayed our school entitlement kit. In one of the items, if you found, so there is a dictionary. It's an Oxford dictionary. I think our partner is also here, this Oxford University Press here. Yeah, thank you. So this dictionary, we are giving it to for all high school children to learn the vocabulary, to make their journey, seamless journey into the English language and English vocabulary. For primary school, we are giving a pictorial dictionary for their joyful learning. So in addition to that, in our curriculum, in our timetable, we have made a habit to the teacher that teacher would encourage the student to learn a word a day. So this kind of habits inculcates the learning of the language. So this learning of the language have 4 stages: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. With the traditional teaching of English, we could achieve all these 4. But with the TOEFL, I think I would take the liberty to talk about the TOEFL about one point. We are focusing on 2 skills. One is listening, second one is speaking. So for fundamentally to learn any language, the process starts from the listening. And if a primary school student can learn about the accent of the foreign language, definitely he would have a head start. When he became older, when he will be in undergrad or postgrad, he want to write either TOEFL or SAT or GRE, whatever the exam is a similar pattern. This Andhra students will have a definitely edge over other students.
Are you seeing tangible results of that?
Yeah, so I have 2 testimonials recently. So one is Government of India, this NCRT, MHRD conducted one assessment test. Usually they conduct every year. This year they are conducting in the name of State Educational Assessment Survey, in which if you look at the percentage of students across India wrote the exam in English medium is 37%. The Andhra Pradesh students have taken the examination 84%. This is in resultant of the introduction of English medium. Though it may be a shortest result. The second testimony we have experienced in the recent classroom-based assessment, as in the earlier session, so I think Rajdeep or somebody has mentioned about assessment part. So state of Andhra Pradesh is consciously assessing their students on competency-based learning, not encouraging our students on to assess or test their rote learning or their cognitive learning or any other stereotype learnings. So we have done 4 cycles of this competency-based assessment. In the last assessment, CBA 3, it has seen that there is a substantial increase in the learning outcomes in the subject English. So with the 3 years of initiative, if we could achieve these 2 small milestones, I believe there are many good things may come in the way in future.
Truly amazing. My time is up, but I just want to take closing comments from all of you, starting off with you, Mr. Oman. Just a quick added question. When we spoke about customized English assessments, what we also realize here, and this we've spoken about in the Education Summit, about how education today is customized for every student, not just based on classes, not just based on grades. So when it comes to English learning also, there are some students perhaps who've had more access to English than others. So how do you customize it based on what the student needs?
Yeah, see, basically one important thing is that we as ETS is an assessment, world leader in assessments, right? So our forte is assessment. So I think every step of the way we need to assess what the learning outcomes are, right? I think have a yardstick as to how the student is doing. I mean, you'll have, like you rightly said, in a classroom of 50, everybody has different competency levels, right? So basically, I think start off with the, do a assessment before you begin the program, then see how they kind of earmark and move ahead, and obviously group them basis the initial reports and so on and so forth, which comes out. That is what we would recommend, basically.
Okay. Mr. Vivek Agarwal, your closing comments. You did highlight for us how there are several lessons that other states can really learn from Andhra Pradesh. But for Andhra Pradesh itself, what do you believe should be the next milestone, the next target?
See, so I'll give you a personal thing. About 25 years ago, when I started my first company, I raised about $15 million in funding. And when we used to have these discussions, it was similar discussions, okay? Technology is about to change the world and everything else, right? Before that, we've had several waves. Before that, we had TV, we had radio, we had movies. And before that, 500 years before that, we had the books. And even in the last 25 years, we've had internet, mobile, now AI, right? Technology is only an enabler, right? And it's like I said, genuinely speaking, it's the easy part. The hard part is implementation, right? So what I would say, just keep at it. There will be mistakes. I mean, it'll be hard. It will be ups and downs, right? Course correct, keep at it. I think it's headed in a wonderful direction. I know there are a lot of, Rajdeep Sardesai also referred to naysayers who say, are you aiming too high? I think, it's like if we don't aim too high, isn't fundamentally what human beings are about? So keep it up.
Okay, set the bar high essentially, then you'll kind of reach there as well. Avid Kapoor, your closing comments. We've had several sessions in the last 2 days. Now, of course, on English. Before this, we've had on skill development, on digital revolution that I spoke about. Do you believe that it's a perfect marriage of all of these resources that's actually leading to change now in the education sector?
I think it's all about intent and commitment. So if you are on it, the intent is there, and you're committed to the cause, you'll have to keep on knocking, because education is not that changes in a day. Annual cycle is 365 days. Teachers, students, all of them have to take that rigor. And as a system, you have to be on it for 365 days to make it happen. So it doesn't happen in 2 days. That's the limited part.
It takes time, but I think what we've also seen here with the Honorable Chief Minister is personal intervention has actually made a difference. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on stage for this panel. A round of applause, please, for all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're all set for our next session, which is on joint certification for a global career. And I'd like to invite on stage my colleague Nabila Jamal to take it over.
Thanks so much. And as much as we've heard the Chief Minister speak today, it appears that Andhra Pradesh is going to be pioneering in every direction in terms of education, not just in the junior level, but all the way up till university level. And I think that's what my next session is going to delve into. Let me have on stage, please, Professor Hemchandra Reddy, Chairman of APSHE, joining us. We have Amit Goel, APAC HEDx. We have Dipanvita Srivastava, Director School of Foreign Languages, IGNOU. We also have Manish Doshi, Business Head K-12, Cambridge University Press India. Also with us, Ramya Venkatraman, Founder and CEO at the Center for Teacher Accreditation. Thanks very much. Please have a seat. All right, as we are seated this way, let me take the opportunity to go in order. Mr. Hemchand Reddy, thanks very much for joining us here on this stage. It's a very important discussion today because as much as we talk about great education, the best stream of education, you have multiple curriculums today. Whatever you pick, at the end of it, it all boils down to how employable are you as an employee. For an employer, it's the skill that a person brings. Would you say today that certification, global certification in institutions associating with great platforms like all of you provide, makes a student a lot more employable? And how?
Yeah, Nabila, you're talking about employability and that too global employability. There are many questions connected with this. You look at it, traditionally, I'm representing higher education space. I talk about higher education institutions.
Yeah.
Traditionally, higher education institutions have a fixed framework and the well-defined capacity of the teachers are built in the institutions. Now, what happened over a period of time, we have limited our teachers, our students to the capability of the teacher alone. We never permitted them to grow beyond the capability of a teacher. Now what's happening? See, the knowledge has become very limited or confined. And now what is happening, industry has become very dynamic and they are ever-changing. The ever-changing needs of the industry are not being taught in the classrooms and therefore the gap is ever-widening. As a teacher, I've been listening to this Industry Institute Connect for the last 30 years or so, right, but nothing very seriously has happened. So therefore, the global connections are very much required. You're talking about giant certifications. Yes, giant certifications are required because you don't want to limit your student to the limitation, confine your student to the limitations of your one particular institution.
Sure.
Or, where you permit the horizons to be expanded beyond the capacities of the teacher. If this happens, probably, a student would be trained or given the skills required to be called employable. Now what's happening, the paradigm shift needed to be taking place right now in higher education space of Andhra Pradesh. We have initiated plethora of reforms. I have Vinny here and many other people who are collaborating with us. Now we say fostering that collaboration is the key right now. Let me tell you, Arjuna was taught by Dronacharya. Karna was taught by Parshuram. Each one had a specific talent. Now imagine Arjuna went to both Dronacharya and Parshuram. Karna also went both to, Parshuram and Dronacharya. The skill set would have been obviously different, way ahead of it. So the benchmarking, as long as we limited ourselves to the capacity of a teacher, we produced maybe a student shade lower to the teacher. Now, joint certifications has come very, very handy. Let me tell you, you sit in your classroom, give optimum liberty to the student to go elsewhere, to the international institutions. Today, I don't know how many of you read Pat Buchanan's The Death of the West. The Death of the West, Pat Buchanan categorically says the reproduction rate in Western countries is quite alarming, and these societies cannot sustain.
Right.
In fact, he has expressed his concerns beyond doubt that Western countries are going to suffer culturally and economically. And today, India has that demographic dividend advantage. I would like to leverage the demographic dividend advantage India has. And I can leverage to the complete potential this advantage only if I train my students to be acceptable global players. So one of the vision statements for the state of Andhra Pradesh, we have set it very clearly that we produce global players from our higher education institutions. And therefore, the joint certifications have come in our way. I think Amit is going to talk about it. We have tabs with LinkedIn, and probably if you look at the last year, 22-23 alone, 22-23 academic year alone, Andhra Pradesh higher education students achieved 2.5 lakh certifications. And 1.25 lakh certifications are from Microsoft alone. Vinny is here to certify that.
That's fantastic.
And Vinny was talking to me, said in one small state in this country, achieving 1,25,000 certifications, it's extraordinary, never happened before. And we did not limit there, and in fact, we exposed our students to various other technologies. And the same question Rajdeep was asking to our Honorable CM, employability. 18-19, we had 33,000 campus placements, and last year we reached 1 lakh campus placements, almost threefold increase in the campus recruitments in the colleges. And
that's the aim, right? You work so hard is quite long. To conclude in that way. Students are looking to be employed. A lot of them are skilled, but opportunities are limited, or vice versa.
Yes.
Many of the companies claim that a lot of students don't have the skill that they need. So it's a fast evolving world across the globe. You have companies evolving so quickly that we've got to keep up with that skill set. And I think it's the best way, joint certification programs, the best way to sit at your comfort and ensure that you're keeping up with the current times. Sure. Amit maybe can wade into that. Joint certification, where students are able to get an international perspective, right, seated from their home, a virtual take on what the world has to offer. So why don't you give me a little more on how you looking at associating with the Andhra government and their universities?
So edX, founded by MIT and Harvard, the whole vision behind launching edX was to make sure that students have access to high quality education, as resonated by the Honorable CM. Gone are the days when just providing access to education was a motto, but today it's about providing access to highest quality education. With that vision, edX actually democratized access to higher education. I personally have been working with various governments around the world, including Singapore, Japan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, etc. Even in India, we have been working with various PSUs, other agencies. Seldom I have ever come across any state which is so forward-looking when it comes to education. Right? The vision has been very clear from day one. They understand what their student wants. The traditional education has been, not really up to the mark in some way. India is producing the highest number of unemployed graduates every year. They say the rate at which we are producing engineering graduates is actually alarming. There have been numerous studies which says 80% of engineering graduates in India are unemployable. At the same time, when we are working with the top companies, the top employers, they say that universities are not able to produce the right skill set that we need. If someone joins TCS, HCL, Wipro, or any of these institutes, these organizations, the companies actually train them at a very basic salary for about 6 months. Then they feel that they're ready to go into the workforce or to be aligned on a particular project. With these certifications, I think the government is trying to produce job-ready graduates. The aim is if a student in Andhra is learning, let's say, BTech Computer Science, they don't just graduate with a BTech Computer Science from ABC University, but they also take a complete credential, which is data science from Harvard University, or artificial intelligence from Columbia University, machine learning from Oxford University and Harvard, and so on. So these credentials not only make the students more knowledgeable, but what we have also seen is they make the learners employable. They increase their employability quotient by about 73%. Education, and if you would see that, in India, it's almost a crazy rat race wherein students are aspiring to get into IITs and IIMs.
Yeah.
And it's not because they love the campus so much, but because they know if they're able to get into IITs and IIMs, there is a certain paycheck associated with it.
And employability is assured.
Employability is the key assurance factor, which actually takes them there. Now, these students will be able to get the same employability quotient, regardless of which institute, which college, which school would they go to in Andhra or anywhere else around the world. So I think it's a win-win ecosystem for everyone, the students, the teachers, and the employers. So I think that's the hybrid way to go ahead.
Well, hybrid education, I think your platform is a classic example. It's started by a professor of the MIT and Harvard.
Correct.
Why don't you give us a little background of that? And also a little insight into what's the difference between pursuing higher education virtually versus in person. Your platform allows students to take it up virtually, right? In terms of cost, is that cheaper? Because if I have to pursue higher education in Howard itself, it's not going to cost me anything less than then at least 15 lakhs. I think that's the basic. It goes upwards.
It's true.
Unending.
And if you look at the ROI, they're actually disappointing. So I'll talk about the professor and the whole genesis first. Interestingly, the platform is founded by an Indian professor, the Padma Shri professor, Professor Anant Agarwal. He has been teaching at MIT for about 30 years. And then he realized that, he's able to teach, about 100, 200 students every year. Access to higher quality education should be as democratized as access to clean water, oxygen. With that vision, the organization actually came up with edX. Today, there are about 2,000 courses being offered by, 200 plus top ranking universities of the world, like Oxford, Berkeley, Columbia, Harvard, etc. Talking about the students' interest, and I'm sure when you went to college, you would have to get up at like 8 in the morning, probably 7 in the morning. Nobody loves those 8 a.m. morning lectures, right? What we have seen is students actually despise it. During pandemic, what we have learned is, we actually conducted a survey and we realized students were most active at around 1 o'clock in the evening, in the night.
Oh, really?
So they would watch these micro lectures, which are about 7 to 8 minutes long, give their assessments, and we try to create correlations. If you're watching a video, in the morning and maybe give an exam after 1 month, 15 days, you will be forgetting a part of what you have learned. But if you are immediately applying the concepts into practice, that is what we call active learning. So with edX, it's not just about watching video lectures. We have literally gone inside the mind of our learners and see how we can make it more interactive. So we don't really create long video lectures. Every lecture is about 7 to 8 minutes long in nature. Right after watching the lecture, the students engage with the content. They interact with each other. So students sitting in India, if they have any question about how do I apply this data science concept, they could put it onto the discussion forum. Before any of the, let's say, Andhra teacher would get onto it, someone in Japan, someone in Korea, someone in US, their other peers would be reacting to it. So it's like a Quora of learning community. Plus, the credential comes from a top-ranking university. Also, there are online labs which are built in, and Microsoft has been a great partner there. So you get hands-on access. If you're creating any program, you're able to deploy it, you're able to create it, and see the results instantly. If you're learning mobile application development, you will be learning the concept, and towards the end of it, you will be actually creating an application which goes online on Play Stores. So you actually get hands-on. Lastly, you get these certificates from Oxford and Harvard, which will look extremely great in your CV.
Wow.
One more thing to add here, and which is also, where we have partnered with the Andhra government. You talked about the cost.
Yeah.
If you want to study in US, if you want to take a bachelor's degree, a degree, not a diploma, it will easily cost you about 2 crore rupees, including your tuition
I
fee.
was talking about a 3-month course, but yeah, very well.
Right.
If you're looking at degree, then it's nothing less than a few crores.
Let's take a local example. You go to IIM Bangalore. And one of their advanced management program is extremely popular among the executives. It costs about 12 lakh rupees. It's like a mini MBA. You could do it over a period of 1 year. With edX, they have put 50% of the content online. In India, we have this fashion that someone would do their BTech, immediately they would do their MBA. Neither they are a good engineer, nor they are a good manager, right? So what they could do with this, so we have something called micro-masters on edX. Universities have put in a part of their master's degree online on edX.
Okay.
You complete that course online, you get a micro-masters. After getting your micro-masters online, you go to the university, let's say you go to IIM Bangalore, or you go to MIT, and say, I want to get admission to your master's degree. They will give you preference in admission, plus they will waive off 25% to 30% of your credit requirement, as well as the tuition fee. So imagine that's a huge cost saving. Either you apply that in India or internationally. And this is the same benefit that we have been offering.
Absolutely. So you're saving on cost, yet getting a degree which is recognized by Harvard and MIT. That's
Plus, the student can make a conscious choice. Today, if I want to get admission into BTech, most likely I would be getting enrolled because my friends are doing so.
yeah.
With these micro bachelors, micro masters, I can actually taste a part of degree before actually deciding whether it's the right approach for me to go or not.
But how far is this global certification recognized globally? Actually studying physically in person in a Harvard versus doing this virtually, is it equally recognized and appreciated?
So when I talk about, let's take engineering as an example. MIT ranks #1 in the world. To their students on campus, they give an option that you could complete these 6 modules online on edX, or either you could complete them on campus. The certificate, the credential, the assessments that they undergo is exactly the same what an on-campus student would get. The certificate that they get is exactly the same. In fact, if you go to Georgia Tech, you take their online degree, which is Masters in Analytics. On campus, it will cost you $40,000 US. Online on edX, it will cost you $10,000 US. The same degree, the same thappa, the same value, and the same status everywhere. So it's exactly same.
That's fantastic. I mean, if that's the opportunity given to students here of Andhra, we might want to emulate it across the country.
And very lastly, I would want to touch upon that every credential is about the employer recognition, right? What we have seen is, because a lot of employers are actually reaching out to edX to train their existing workforce, when a student from Andhra or a college or anywhere else, they go and apply for a job at, let's say, Google, IBM, Accenture, Microsoft, etc., they're already paying edX to train their workforce. So if I go there as a student, apply with my CV, and there's notice an edX credential, I'm poised to get more visibility and the recognition. That enhances my employability.
Yeah. Sounds like the right step forward for students today, because just a conventional degree or a conventional MBA does not cut it. I think you need that extra edge, and I think that's what global certification sort of gives you, that impetus. Ms. Dipanvita Srivastava, if I could bring you in on languages. You are the director for Foreign Languages Institute. We know that Indian students, Indians per se, have a leg up. The kind of advantage that we have is because of the English language. Compared to many other countries, including China, I'm sure you'd agree with me. So English has really benefited us. But today's day and age, we've got to be multilingual. As it is, we know that Indians are multilingual, but would you tell us how important is it to learn a foreign language?
Well, thank you for that very interesting question. I'd like to begin by thanking all the people before me who discussed in detail the role of English and how it was becoming more and more important today at school, at higher education levels also. And the most important thing is when we talk about English or using any other foreign language, it is not about pitting one language against the other. For me as an academic, as a professor of a foreign language, I feel it's an age of composite models. We can have at the same time various models, various languages coexisting and equally benefiting the learner. And I prefer to call the learner beneficiary in this case.
Yeah.
The learner is very informed. The learner knows absolutely why he or she is doing a language, at least when we are referring to adult learners and higher education. So I, coming from an open university, IGNOU happens to be the largest open university of the world, and we have 5 lakh enrollments every year. We are handling a huge bunch of students. So when we did something like foreign languages, we have a school of foreign languages handling 9 foreign languages. And we were told by several traditional institutions that doing foreign languages in the distance mode was never going to work. We took on the challenge. And today, thanks to technology and the most modern pedagogical models that we use, our students are absolutely thrilled with what we have to offer. I'll give you a simple difference. In most of the conventional universities, at the master's level, the number of intake is 15, 12, max 17. We began a batch of masters in French with 500. So that's the difference, what our blended models play today. And our teachers asked us, but where did you get them from? My answer would be they were a latent group of students who wanted to learn, but because of life constraints, the models followed at conventional universities, they were not able to join the learner force. So by offering alternative blended learning models, institutions like IGNOU, they are coming ahead offering not only degrees from IGNOU, but as joint certification, we are collaborating with embassies, we are collaborating with foreign universities, especially universities handling the particular language we have in mind. And this kind of joint certification is working out very well. And I'd like to especially add that in the Indian context, when we come to teacher training in foreign languages, unfortunately, till date, there is no B.Ed program certified by the NCTE, which is the apex body for teacher training certification. So in that case, when it came to training the teachers for foreign languages, we have tried collaborating with Université Grenoble in France and content preparation, faculty sharing, and resource sharing as well. That is working out very well. As far as joint certification is concerned, I'd like to mention here that there are basically 3 major kinds of collaborations that we look at. One is the joint certification, one is dual certification, and the third, what we call, is the twinning. Now, beginning with the twinning model of joint certification, it is kind of an add-on certificate which is included with the major certification that the student has completed these many credits from the foreign institution. So it's a kind of a value addition to the main certificate the student gets from the mother institution. This is called twinning, and we have institutions like UNICEF and UNESCO also participating in this, especially on programs related to, let's say, gender studies or environment studies. So if a student, someone who's doing, let's say, history, and wants to also do something in environment studies, so by collaborating under the twinning model, they get a value-added certification in this. The other is a dual degree model. Under this kind of certification, the student registers at both universities, in the country and outside the country, whoever is in, within the agreement. And the only condition is that the degree acquired at both these institutions would be of the same level during the same period, and the person would need to manage or micromanage learning patterns concerning attendance or units, how they fulfill the required credentials. At the end of the degree, the student is awarded 2 certificates, one from the mother institution, the other comes from the foreign institution. Right. This is the dual degree pattern. And then comes the joint degree certification. Under this kind of joint certification, internationally, what happens? The two institutions come together. They design a common syllabus. And within the syllabus, it is decided that a particular university would require the learner to complete 30 credits, 40 credits, and the other would require you to do 50 credits. So together, it becomes one common certification, which is awarded at the end of the course. So these are the three major kinds of certifications which are recognized and validated under UGC. Now, I must bring this point here because any kind of certification you see, we may prepare our own individual models.
Yeah.
But unless it is validated and certified and recognized in the country, often students are misled, they are misinformed.
Correct.
It's a personal experience I had with one of my students who wanted to register in our PhD program. This boy had done what they call a Master 2, that's a second master's from Sorbonne, Paris, France. It's one of the legendary institutions of the world. And he was told at that time that Master 2, that's the second master's, is equivalent to an MPhil in India. Thinking that, he came back after the Master 2, applied for a PhD in JNU and with IGNU, with us, and expecting to be exempted of the coursework. Because UGC regulations said, if you have an MPhil, you are exempted of coursework. But they said that the AIU, that's the Association of Indian Universities, did not recognize Master 2 as an MPhil. So this kind of misinformation is often there in the field, but I must admit that after the NEP 2020, there has been a lot of clarification and very fine-tuning of policies. So students stand much more informed today. So this is something that we absolutely need to be...
You mentioned the NEP?
The NEP talks a lot about joint certification, talks a lot of coming together, the kind of collaboration, the modalities of how this would be. So the student is informed well in advance. It is not at random, oh, we are partnering with such and such institution. That kind of vagueness is kind of eliminated post the NEP scenario. And that's a very heartening thing, actually.
So,
yes.
in a way, you welcome it. You welcome NEP,
absolutely.
The formula itself across the country.
I would also like to mention here that joint certification is not only at the level of foreign institution and Indian institution. Within the country also, we have very exciting partnerships between two different institutions, like in IGNU, the School of Tourism and Hospitality partners with the National Council of Catering Technology, Hotel Management, something. So they have a combined degree coming. They have a sharing of credits. The School of Management Studies has paired with the Institution of Chartered Accountants of India. They again have this credit sharing agreement whereby if the student fulfills the requirements, the stage 1 of chartered accountancy is deemed clear. So this kind of coming together, in fact, I forgot, my own School of Foreign Languages has this partnership with Max Miller Bhavan, the Goethe Institute, for the German language program and the University of Vienna included. We are preparing content for teacher training, and we have a very successfully running diploma in teaching German. And a lot of German teachers in schools across the country take this program because it's offered in distance mode. It is of global standards. The quality is very good. So this kind of certification is also in vogue. It's not only just foreign and Indian, it's also within the country that we have.
So,
yes.
Bringing in Manish on this, and since ma'am spoke about misinformation that could be rife, if you could break it down for us on global certification, how are you educating students right at the primary level, rather parents, in what's the best certification available today? And the kind of opportunities it eventually gives, starting from primary level.
Sure. So the first thing is, before answering your question, I think we need to understand why and what about joint certification. the K-12, that's a school universe in India, is roughly 1.5 million. And 97% of the schools are either aided or state board.
Yeah.
Now, these students excel when it comes to professional or technical skills. But the area where they need some kind of support, it's to begin with the futuristic skills like literacy, like financial literacy, like coding, and the most important thing is communication skills. In India, we have 3 types of languages. The first is regional, second is national, and third is official. So I think many of the panelists, what we have been hearing in last 2 days, the importance of communication skills. So there needs to be something to support the students. And here in Andhra Pradesh, what we have heard so far is it's not only about the foundation stage or only restricting that to K through 12, but what Mr. Reddy mentioned is also for the students who are already in colleges.
Yeah.
So that's the second piece. Further, the most important thing about joint certification is the recognition. It's not only students going abroad to pursue their further studies abroad, but why not to have the jobs in India and companies coming to India and offer them a job. The set of students who wants to pursue their career abroad can definitely go with this certificate, which would be recognized across the globe. Mostly 150 plus countries do recognize these certificates. So this would be something at a very different level. And the most important thing is it's not short term. It's vision, it's mission, and last is we heard about the impact as well. So that's what I would like to add.
Well, the impact is immense, and if I could ask you about the kind of, globally, companies today, how far do they seek Indians? Is there a measure that we could give here? We know that most tech companies have Indians largely across the globe. Are Indians generally a favorite?
So as I mentioned, it's about the skills set what lies in Indians. They are everywhere. You name any country, you will find an Indian there.
Yeah, we could attribute that to the population as well.
Yes, yes.
But in terms of skillful Indians who have been employed and they're acing it, what really gives Indians the edge? Of course, with joint certification now it kind of gives them a further boost. But for why are Indians so sought after?
So I think I would quote this as in Indians you will find one thing which is very common across all the states. That is the 3D element. That's dedication, devotion, and determination. That's something you will find in Indians. We never work on 9 to 5 or 10 to 6.
Correct.
I think you just mentioned about there are students who would log in at 1 at night. It's not only about a typical time, like it's passion and it's something inbuilt. So that's the driving force behind Indians. That's what.
Yeah, committed, hardworking. I think we could keep at it. Ramya could jump in on this. Speaking of excellence in education, won't be possible unless our teachers are equally skilled or skilled enough to impart that education to our students. You handle teachers training. If you could give us an insight into how advanced or not are we in India today, and what are you looking at doing with the Andhra government?
Sure. Before I come to Andhra government and so on, I think talking about this whole theme of joint certification and skills for the students, this whole topic has been from the other side, which is to say that for decades students have been going abroad trying to get global education, at least a segment of society who can afford it, etc. And now many of these joint certification efforts are trying to democratize that a lot more, to say how we can bring this to a much larger section of society. Whereas when you see teachers, we are actually starting from the other end of the spectrum, which is that teaching as a profession has been very local. Teachers are typically not keen to even move from like one neighborhood to another neighborhood to teach. So where does this global mobility and joint certification come into the picture? And what we felt is that if we want teachers to be skilled for the future, as you asked, it's not enough to keep saying you need to be skilled. It's not enough to supply training. It's critical to make the profession more aspirational. It's critical to figure out what can lead to career growth for teachers, what can lead to professional growth. And for us, that mobility globally, both within India and globally, as ma'am said, that mobility plays a very important role in making the career of teaching aspirational. And that's where joint certification or this kind of global interaction comes into teaching. And what we find is that when we provide these opportunities, then yes, teachers do upskill themselves because it's not only for the students, but it's for themselves as a professional. So to give you, one or two examples, we have a very interesting partnership with University of California, Santa Cruz, where the university invites a few teachers from emerging countries. I mean, we work in several emerging countries in addition to India. And the university invites teachers from a few emerging countries to their global summer internship based on achieving the CENTA certification.
Yeah.
And this year, there is a government teacher also who has got that summer internship and will be going to California in August. So when you have this kind of opportunity, you find that to achieve those opportunities, there will be, say, for 5 slots, 1,000 teachers who prepare and upskill themselves in science in this particular case. This is a science internship. And this cycle of global mobility and upskilling based on that global mobility is what we are trying to drive.
Generally, there's a perception that teachers itself in India largely, especially the state level employed teachers, aren't as skilled. So that's what results in students falling out or lacking that kind of, the quality in education. So what's the need of the hour for a government to focus around today? Of course, upskilling teachers, but is there a systematic way that you approach it? To tell our teachers that they need to learn is hard to do.
Yeah, so I would say 2 things. One, for any professional, telling them that they need to learn is not going to make them learn.
Yeah.
But figuring out what the professional wants and making that linked to their learning plays a big role. So I would say one important need of the hour for our governments is to create career paths for teachers which are aspirational, and not only for our governments, for our private sector also. It's not as if private sector has great career paths in teaching. And whenever a government does that, so with Andhra government, for example, we ran a very interesting initiative last year where a bunch of teachers were selected for state teacher awards based on a test rather than only nominations and so on. And when that happens, you find that, yes, teachers get motivated in a very different way to upskill. I think that's one part of it. Second, when you come to the actual upskilling, how can you make it far more bite-sized and day-to-day, rather than only the traditional workshops and courses, which in the modern world, I mean, there's only so much uptake. So when you combine these 2 things, which is career growth with bite-sized learning, I mean, we interestingly find that, so our teacher platform has like 1.5 million teachers engaging. And literally in a span of, say, 10, 12 months, there will be 4 million learning engagements that teachers voluntarily take up, not because someone is telling them that you need to learn, but because there is a set of career opportunities associated with that.
You know, and today with technology, I think it's easy for teachers also to accommodate a course while they teach simultaneously. So
yeah, it's easier for them to accommodate a course. It's also, by the way, easier for them to get online career opportunities. So, for example, there are now international organizations which take online teachers from India on a part-time basis. So, for example, there are organizations to whom we provide X man-hours of teacher time, certified teacher time, to teach a particular subject where there is a shortage. Very interestingly, a state government in India is taking teachers for part-time roles because they are finding it hard to recruit for those particular roles or in those particular districts.
correct. You know, but I'd still come down to the fact that teachers usually complain. I don't know if you have a solution to that they're underpaid. They say it's a thankless job, they put in the hours, there's so much that they give, and it's an emotional job for them as well. But the remuneration isn't as satisfactory. That's what's leading to not great quality education also.
So what I have observed is that teachers don't often complain that they are underpaid. They complain that they don't get differentiated for better quality work. So our average teacher salaries, particularly in the government system, are not bad. But the teacher says, when I'm working harder and giving better outcomes, why is the guy next door getting the same salary?
Right.
And that differentiation can have a significant impact in teacher motivation is what we find rather than raising average salaries.
Right. Professor wanted to make a point. You wanted to make a point.
No, I just wanted to say, in India at least, such a situation is not prevailing. Teachers are all well paid, both at elementary level and higher education level. There are no such complaints. I totally agree with Ramya ji. You know, the mechanism to distinguish between the performer and a non-performer, that's something seriously bothering us at this point.
Dipanvita, would you want to pitch in?
Well, I think in my domain of work, foreign language, that's what I said, in the absence of B.Ed, that is the Apex teacher training program, the salary structures are very haphazard across the country. For teaching the same classes, someone in Banaras would perhaps get paid 5,000, someone in Delhi might be earning 80,000. There's a huge disparity in salary structure in foreign languages. So as she was talking about online teaching assignments, those are getting very popular. And very often at IGNOU especially, we get requests from particular groups to develop courses for them. For example, we developed courses for the Army, for the Navy. We got a request from NIFT. We got a request from the hospitality industry to develop foreign language courses for the ones working in the tourism sector. So this kind of customized programs when we offer, you know, it's a whole new kind of partnership or certification, call it whatever, but it enhances the value of the degree what we give just independently a foreign language degree when combined with something else, which in technical terms we call functional language learning. It definitely adds value to what you have to offer.
Okay, so I think opportunities are available. It's for students and teachers only to merely choose as of today. Amit, a quick word on digitization. India is seeing a boom in digital infrastructure. How is that really benefiting students as of today to take up as many courses like your platform provides higher education all virtually? So digitization itself, the infrastructure that the country provides today has really, and of course the Andhra government, they have now tablets in schools, you know, that kind of infra is what was needed. It's just about time that we get going.
So I think it's the accessibility that the government is providing, right? There is no dearth of content, there is no dearth of resources. There was an interesting experiment by Professor Sugata Mitra called Hole in the Wall in the late 90s. Wherein they installed a computer in a village about 100 kilometers away from Delhi. And they left it with some games and everything. And when they came back after a month, by the way, in that village, nobody spoke English. And when they came back, they looked at the students. The students were saying, RAM badha do, give us more memory, right? Can we get a graphic card? And they were amazed how the students caught up those words.
Wow.
Turned out they learned by themselves. In India, what we have also seen, it's, we have been putting a lot of blame on teachers. The quality of teaching is inferior. But it's high time we also need to think about creating the bridge between what the students aspire and how they get recognition for it. In India, mostly in colleges, students try to bunk classes. They, tend to have an easy life, and they know that they will get passed and earn a credential towards the end of it. In the Western world, students know that it's not their parents who are paying their tuition fee. They have to work hard. They have to take a tuition loan, and that's why they place great emphasis when they come to the classroom.
Correct.
The same effort needs to be placed here. The teachers need to replace themselves as sage on stage to a guide by the side. So that's my 2 cents.
But Manish, what I do also notice of India is that the sheer population, right? One class has 120 students versus if you're looking at classrooms in the West, they focus on 20 students, 30 students at max. So students are a lot more active, responsive. Versus here, then you have so many students in the classroom, your teachers are generally, your focus is minimal on each one. Could that change?
So prior to that, I wanted to add something on the teachers because
sure,
it's all in and around teachers. See, in India, to my best, SCRT was formed in 1988. Then we have diet centers to support the teachers, regular teacher training. Our expectation is we come out with a subject, okay, like new subjects being added. Within computer, ICT got added, then coding, artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. But what about teachers? When we talk about 1.5 million schools, just think about the number of teachers in these schools. How are we supporting them? How are we training them? So here the thing is, today what we heard from Honorable Chief Minister is the teacher training is going to be something extensive. Like 1 year, it's purely dedicated on the teacher training. That's something because we expect so many things from teachers. You rightly said about the batch size. That is, it differs, like 25:1 versus 50 or 60. When we studied, it was even 50 or 60:1. But now the time is changing. The teachers are working in multiple kind of things like group work. It's not like typical chalk and talk. The things have changed. On digital...
Yeah, more schools.
Yeah, more schools, of course. On digital, the thing is, we have now, in our generation, we never had. Like in science, when we talk about stimulations, it was just based on assumptions. In physics, we never had dark rooms. In schools, especially. So now the time is changing. And the good thing is we are having an optimum use of technology. It's a blended approach. It's not only digital, it's not only physical, it's a blended approach. And that's going to be tomorrow, I think.
Fantastic. So,
in fact, I want to add where Manish has left. It should be completely a blended approach. We cannot leave everything to virtual learning. Right now, the importance of an institution still remains in the Indian learning context. Institutions still drive the student, and the additional knowledge are, going those few steps beyond. Probably we need to approach these, online methods. So a right blend of physical, formal teaching and then online teaching would obviously be a solution. And, all the time, even I started saying the capacity of a teacher is limited. But definitely institutions shall make those efforts to improve the capacity, build the capacity within higher education institutions, give that flexibility to the teachers. I think whatever measures we are taking at this point of time in the form of joint certifications, it should be for a limited time, but meanwhile, the teachers also build their capacity and drive it. Sustainability comes there at that point of time. Amit, I just wanted to correct you. In Andhra Pradesh, neither the parent pays the tuition fee, nor the student pays the tuition fee. It is the government that pays the tuition fee completely.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Fantastic. No,
Sorry, just one quick note on the point about joint certification, right? So I think invariably when we think about joint certification, we think about it as something linked to a university abroad. I think we also need to start thinking about joint certification as being linked to the market or the employers. So how does the employer value a certificate that you're giving? For me, is the biggest meaning of joint.
True.
So when we try to certify teachers, we are okay to partner, whether it's with University of California, University of Buckingham, we are very happy to partner with them. But even more importantly, we are keen to partner with schools, with edtechs, with governments who employ these teachers and therefore value the certification and make it joint. And the same thing goes for students in terms of industry which is employing them.
In fact, I'd like to come in here a little from where she left. It's very true when we talk of global employability. At the end of the day, it is the employer who employs the person, whether it's the student or whether it's the teacher who has trained the students. So yesterday in one of the sessions, I remember someone speaking about bringing in the employers right at the beginning, at the stage of curriculum development. We, in our university at IGNOU, we have had this tradition of having people from the industry join us in our experts committee when we are preparing what we call the instructional design manual. So they tell us, okay, you better put this in, you better include this, because this is what we're looking at. And this reminds me of a case, my friend who had done Japanese for 5 years in one of the most reputed universities of the country. When she joined Maruti, she felt quite at a loss because the 5-year program had not equipped her with the skills she would have required to work in Maruti. So I think this involvement needs to be right at the beginning, at the stage of curriculum development. Also, we have something called the POP introduced by the UGC, that's the Professors of Practice, where they're getting senior personnel, CEOs of industries to come and lecture in universities. That has come in very handy for the students. That's also kind of collaboration.
Yes, sir, I'll take your last word here.
Sure. So just something about you mentioned about the recognition or the acceptance of the degree and the qualification. So one thing which came in my mind, and that would be probably useful. I think the time is like with the way they have partnered with edX and the things are moving. What we have done is within Cambridge we have vertical Cambridge English. And within that, we have Cambridge English qualification. There is an exam like Business English Certificate, which is recognized and accepted by 6,000 multinational companies.
Wow.
And of which I think around 35% of them have a presence in India as well. So that's the impact of collaboration, a partnership, or a co-branding, which will help students to have an opportunity within India, or maybe in case if they want to become an entrepreneur or start their own venture, I think that would be good.
That's fantastic. You know, it's so refreshing to hear this multi-dimensional approach to education in India. Andhra Pradesh there leading the way in that sense. A big round of applause to all our guests. Let me tell you, this is possibly why India is truly the education hub. We look at, we're speaking at associating with global universities or, international firms. Let me tell you, across the globe, students are looking at India now as an education destination. And this is why. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for all of our panelists there. Thank you very much to my colleague Nabila as well for running us through that discussion. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're all set for our closing remarks. It's been a very exciting 2 days here in the beautiful town of Tirupati, but I'd like to invite on stage Mr. C.N. Divan Reddy, IRPS, Director of the Andhra Pradesh Education and Welfare Infrastructure Development Corporation, to give you the closing remarks. A big round of applause, please, to welcome Mr. Reddy onto the stage.
A warm good evening, everyone. After hectic parleys for the past 2 days on various topics related to education domain, we have come to the end of this wonderful program. I would like to sum up the 2 days discussion on various topics before we wrap up the session. The day one started with a fire chart with the Principal Secretary of Education, where he has put forward important reforms undertaken by Government of Andhra Pradesh, such as infrastructure provisions in schools, introduction of English language, future skill programs, TOEFL, IB certification, bilingual textbooks, extended school complex for capacity building in teachers, and finally, their effect in improvement of GER performance and composite GER performance vis-a-vis other states in the country. During the first session on Adopting for Excellence on State Education Board, the panelists spoke on the importance of 4 pillars of education, which are capacity building of teachers, pedagogy, engaged learning, and assessment. AP in this regard is already in the forefront, duly signing an agreement with the IB board for certification, allowing for contextual and conceptual experiential learning for the children. During the next session on digital revolution, the panelists spoke on transformational changes brought about through introduction of various digital platforms in all schools of AP, such as IFPs and individual tablets for classes from 8th onwards. The conversations between the panelists also highlighted the importance of generative AI as adopted by AP that simplifies content and can act as a super tutor in both online and offline modes. The last session of the day, of day one, on skill development and entrepreneuring, the importance of skilling and upskilling to change the landscapes of learning ecosystems was broadly discussed. Also, the importance of participation of MSMEs regarding acting as a third mentor apart from family and school was highlighted. In this regard, it was also mentioned that the state of Andhra Pradesh is in forefront through establishing a hub and spoke model where market demand surveys and skill gap analysis are being done for imparting specialized skills as well as life skills and financial skills to the students. The second day kick-started with the interactive session of Honorable Chief Minister Sir of AP, where he has highlighted the important aspects of Andhra model of education. For him, the right to education is no longer the buzzword, but a right to quality education is very important, where the poor will have an access to English education, digital and physical infrastructure. This in turn will eliminate the gap between rich and the poor in access to quality education. Moreover, he felt that the downtrodden should be equipped with skills that will actually make them globally competitive. For instance, the interventions such as IB certification, where becoming part of CERT can help for capacity building or at the teacher levels and experiential learning for children. Various programs have been designed, such as different menu in case of midday meal scheme, Nadu Nedu, Ammavadi, etc., to ensure school dropouts are curbed and overall GER improves. Similarly, in the higher education, online verticals, edX sessions, etc., will make the students globally competitive. During the second session of the second day on English as a catalyst empowering global competence, the panelists discussed on the importance of equity and quality of education and how the introduction of English has acted as an equalizer in this regard. In this regard, Andhra Pradesh model was applauded as a role model, as it also imbibes students to hold a conversation apart from reading English, as it allows children to start at a very young age. During the last session of the second day on joint certification for global career, the panelists spoke on how students can be provided access to higher education, sitting remotely, duly democratizing education. It was also highlighted that joint certification help in updating skills and to get better placements in job market. In this regard, once again, in the past 5 years, the number of joint certificates in the state of Andhra Pradesh has gone up to 2.5 lakhs, while the placements went up to 1 lakh from 35,000 in 2018, a product of active learning through joint certification. Lastly, I would like to thank all the anchors of the sessions, as well as organizers, delegates, and participants of the summit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reddy. And as he aptly put it, right to education no longer, it's the right to quality education that Andhra Pradesh is focusing on. Just also would like to invite on stage Shobhika S., IAS, also Director of the Midday Meals Program in the Government of Andhra Pradesh, to deliver the vote of thanks.
A very pleasant evening to the honorable dignitaries, esteemed guests and participants. And I take immense pleasure in expressing my warm gratitude and appreciation. Firstly, I extend my sincere gratitude to the Honorable Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Shri Y.S. Jagannath Reddy Garu, for taking out time in his tight schedule, for coming down all the way and expressing his vision, which has added up meaning to the reason of the summit. I also extend my profound gratitude to all the speakers of the panel for the insightful discussions, which has given a new prism and shape for evolution and betterment of the AP model of education. And panelists across country has given a national flavor to the summit. Indeed, it's a proud moment for Andhra Pradesh, and thanks to all the panelists for traveling here. And it was a pleasure having all of you with us. And specifically, I would like to thank Ms. Kalipuri, Vice Chairperson, India Today Group, and Mr. Rahul Shah, CEO, TV Today Network, for heading and spearheading the summit. I would also like to thank the brilliant and vibrant anchors, Ms. Akshita Nandagopal, Ms. Nabia Jamal, and Mr. Nagarjun Dwaraknath, for making all sessions meaningful, entertaining, and exciting. Most importantly, I would like to thank the most patient participant crowd here for adding total value to the session, who deserve a big round of applause. And from the Department of School Education, Government of Andhra Pradesh, I take pride in thanking the entire team of school education, Shri Suresh Kumar IAS, Shri Saurabh Gaur IAS, Shri Bhaskar Katamaneni IAS, Shri Devan Reddy IRPS, and Shri Srinivas Rao IAS, headed by the most dynamic leader, Shri Praveen Prakash IAS, for being the backbone of the entire summit. Lastly, I thank the entire district administration, APCOS, TTD, and Ramraj of Tirupati for licensing and facilitating the entire summit. We are looking forward for the continued collaboration and elevating the quality of education. Thanks to Almighty and one and all once again for making the summit a resounding success. And in continuation to the darshan, one last announcement. Laddu has been arranged for the delegates. I request the delegates to stay back for 2 minutes to take back your Laddu Prasadam from here. Thank you all.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we speak, the distribution of the prasadam is underway. I think I'll speak on behalf of everyone, and I'd like to thank also the government of Andhra Pradesh for the incredibly warm hospitality that we've all received here in Tirupati as well. It's been lovely being here in this beautiful town. Thank you all as an audience for being here, for listening so patiently, and for being so actively engrossed in all of these conversations. It's officially a wrap on the India Today Education Summit, and once again, thanking you all for being a part of this 2-day summit and making it such a roaring success. Until next time, thank you and good night.